Bum, 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 bum. All right. How's it going, everyone? Happy Good Friday, I think. That's how you say it. Honestly, like with all of these events, it's the holidays just appear out of nowhere. All right. But anyway, so today I am probably going to be playing some arena. The arena just changed because it's Friday, and it'll be build 30 from 60. So it's probably actually my favorite format. And I've also got a challenge from Samu to Death. I'll be playing as that person, and I'm also going to try and get in at least a game with this new deck that I built last time. Where is it? Gonna have to move these around a little bit, but it's this Ragnarok deck that was named by Cash. So anyway, let's get to it. Let's see what we got. All right, let's do this challenge first. Constructed. We're gonna play our deck here. Ragnarok. See if I can quickly edit that deck. Take a look at it here. So what did we do? Last time we ended up playing this really grindy game with this deck against a Kark deck, which is trying to win by gaining health. That might be the deck that I make next, is Kark, so I can show what that looks like in a couple of variations. But anyway, this deck was originally designed around Army of the Apocalypse. I wanted to basically build it around cards that are they come back with Army of the Apocalypse. We're very happy to have them back. So generally, it was just a more of a grindier deck where we banish cards out of a discard pile and make some, things that are somewhat annoying, but nothing that's really going to take away the game on its own, except maybe Necromancer Lord and Thought Plucker. But we try and get a late game or mid game Army of the Apocalypse, which just kind of vomits everything into play, but for both players. So because of that, we're running a lot of discard pile banishment. There are 3 Guilt Demons, 2 Orb Stakers, if you count those, 3 Keeper of Secrets, and 1 Amnesia. So that's going to be something like 9 cards that vanish from the discard pile, plus 3 Heinous Feasts, so that makes 12. So we have a lot of ways to interact with the discard pile. Running a couple of synergies. Sea Titan's in here mainly because it works really well with Misguided Herald and Necromancer Lord and Corpse Staker, and we're running Final Task, so that's going to be our main way to use this. But sometimes it'll just be a big body. Otherwise, last time I found that the deck didn't punish enough, so I decided I'm going to try out Djinn of the Sands in this list, which will try and take the role of a Punisher. It's basically an 8 offense blitz champion with Airborne that can remove a counter to draw a card. So that means 3 times you can draw a card with it. So it's an okay play if you just have nothing to do, if you just need to drop something and use it. Because I also found there weren't very many establishing champions. Yeah, I am. But I was just talking about this deck. I did get a challenge from someone, so I'm going to do that first. Alright, well, it looks like they're not on yet, so I will go ahead and just make a... Oh, I have to make a deck first. Alright, let's make a deck. How's it going? Picks as well in Cash. So, already, I think this good pool is very good. No pun intended. I find that Urgent Messengers in this type of format is extremely good. Urgent Messengers, Erase, and there's another draw too that has a really effective, just versatile use that I'm trying to think of. But anyway, Smash and Burn, that might be the one I'm thinking of. This is great because you're going to need to draw two at some point during the game, and the 2 human tokens are going to be much better in a limited format like this, where if they block a big champion, which your opponent will probably have, then it's unlikely you're going to get raged or lashed out. So a lot of the time in a format like Random 30 or Random 60, I should say, you get to play cards that you might not necessarily pick very often in Dark Draft because they require you to have a certain style of deck, but you know what your deck is going to be before it's built. I mean, in other words, a card like Quell is not something that I pick very highly in Dark Draft. I think this card is okay. It's hard to get a lot of value out of the first option, and it's hard to make the second option better than just Banish All. Usually, you'd just rather have a Banish All, but maybe you have a lot of zero-cost champions and unbanishable champions, or you have a lot of ways to make tokens in your deck. So you can find a home for Quell in these types of decks. And that's what we're going to see. I usually what I do is I just start by tossing in the cards that I think I'll end up playing basically always. So I might cut them, but these cards are just solid on their own generally. So I'm just going to do a couple here and talk about them. So Angel of the Gate. I think having off turn, or Pratic. Yeah, I'm going to go through each of the colors. I haven't actually looked at the pool that much. But I'm going to go through and explain how I go about picking the cards that I think I really want in most decks. So, Angel of the Gate. This is a great card because it's an off-turn threat. So in other words, if you play this, it doesn't require loyalty or any ally ability or anything, so it's okay even if you don't have any other good cards. I always like to have some card that heals in my deck if I can, because sometimes you get into a situation where your opponent has just rushed you down, and especially when you're playing just against random people and not against someone or in a tournament where you have an idea of what the meta is, and they run out of cards, but you have to worry about them just top decking a way to kill you. So this helps you stabilize, and it's a 12-point swing every turn. You get your 7 combat every turn, and you gain 5 health every turn. So aside from that, this is a great card to play after a board clear, which players are going to have a lot more of in this type of format. So generally, I see a lot of people running things like Apocalypse and Divine Judgment, just unconditional ways to clear the board, because unlike in something like Dark Draft, where you might pass up an early board clear, or you might just take, you might see them early and you take a lot of them, so your opponent doesn't see very many of them. In this format, you get a much more rounded selection generally. So people are going to basically always have some kind of way to clear the board in their deck, and this is a great way to follow up a board clear, which I think is important in pretty much every deck. If you can find at least one card that's a good thing to play after your opponent clears the board. Faithful Pegasus and Priestess of Angeline kind of fill the same slot here. They're both zero-cost champions with Recycle. So you're going to play this, you're going to recycle, and then your opponent needs to answer them, or you get to some kind of recurring value. So Faithful Pegasus will either deal 2 damage to them every turn, maybe more if you have humans, or it'll soak up 1 attack. So it's something like a second wind. Priestess of Angeline is going to recycle, and then basically it'll either soak up a big attack, or you'll get to maybe gain 3 or 6 health off of it, because you can play Priestess and one other good 1-cost card in the same turn, and then you get 3 health right away. And if you don't get to use it again, then it's 3 health, and you get the 1/2, and you recycle. Herons the Meek. This is a great card because it just is an off-turn way to clear the board, and that's it really. And if you play it on turn, the drawback usually isn't too bad. Sometimes you play against someone that does token type strategy, but usually if your opponent has a lot of tokens out, then you can just hold on to this and either play to draw 2 or just wait with it. Alright, and then Urgent Messengers is just, you are always going to want to draw 2 at some point, and the 2 human tokens are going to be relevant in this type of format. I'll come back to these other cards. I think it's very likely I'll end up heavy good, but I want to see what else I have. There's also some very strong evil loyalty options. I think Angel of Death is very good, Medusa is very good, Murderous Necromancer is very good. These are all really high impact cards. Angel of Death and Medusa are both just, it's like you're taking an event that you'd normally spend your gold on, and you get a body attached to it. So both of these are going to effectively do something you normally spend a gold to do, breaking a champion on your opponent's turn, or clearing the board, but you also get something that your opponent is not irrelevant. 6 is a 5-turn clock on its own. Murderous Necromancer gives you 3 bodies, and then you can use the ability to break your opponent's champions. So this is what I would call a threat. It's a great establishing champion. Cards like this you can just play, and they sit there, and now your opponent has to react to you. So I generally like to have some establishing champions in every deck. We also have Necromancer Lord in this pool. It's actually very likely I'll try and shove as many evil cards as I can in this deck. Alright, from over here, Guilt Demon's another card I like having in a lot of decks. I think it's very strong. Epic Restart, a tournament circuit of some kind. Yeah, we have there's the monthly EDMC, but soon there will be weekly tournaments, which are very easy to enter into, and that'll be basically more of we want to get feedback from the users and see what types of things they're interested in. So if people are really responsive to that and they like participating in the tournaments, then we will probably have there be more than just the one per week. All right, Rax's Curse, another card that I think is much better in random 60 because more players are going to play zero-cost champions. A lot of the time, Rax's Curse will sit in your hand. You won't have a zero-cost champion to hit with it. But in random 60, everyone's going to be putting a few zero-cost champions into their deck because they're going to get cards from every alignment. Spying Demon is a great card if you have lots of evil cards. I don't yet, so I'm going to hold off on that. Same with Unquenchable Thirst. So over here in Sage, Deadly Rage, Jinn of the Sands, Frost Giant, Force Field, Knight of Alara. These are all cards that are fine. They have a specific role that they fill. I wouldn't take these. None of these particularly grab me. Lying in Wait's actually reasonable. I think this card is kind of inefficient. Usually when you remove something in Epic, you kind of want to get something better out of the deal than just getting rid of their thing. But this fills a very specific niche. It can remove untargetable champions. The acronym? EDMC? Yeah, Epic Digital Monthly Championship. But I think if you look up Epic Card Game EDMC, you should be able to find it. I can send a link. Maybe when I have some downtime in a game, I'll pull it up and I'll post it in chat. All right. Where was I? Right, the Lying in Wait. So let's say your opponent plays Steel Golem and they attack you with it, right? This thing's untargetable. Same thing with Sea Titan. Those are both popular cards in my opinion. And if you get attacked with it, you can't remove it because it's untargetable, usually. But Lying in Wait doesn't target. It just says, if a champion is attacking alone, banish it. So the biggest utility for Lying in Wait is that you can hit untargetable champions with it. Sometimes getting your opponent's Crystal Golem will also be relevant. Alright. Same thing with Transform. It's not a lot of value, but it's just so unconditional. You get anything. So it's nice to have these safety nets if you feel like your deck's already really strong. But I'm not going to go for those yet. I think Arcane Research is always great because if you play it with no cards in your discard pile, then you still get to just draw the one card that you see. So you can always cycle this, and that makes it just a fantastic card to have in this type of format where you're not really giving up a slot for it. In random 60, you're basically saying, all right, the last worst card in my deck, the 30th card that I would have taken, I'm going to take Arcane Research instead, and then effectively you just get to see more cards, up to 29 good cards. So I think this card goes in basically every deck that I want. I mean, there might be situations where you don't want this, if revealing your cards to your opponent could be very bad. because if you just cycle it, your opponent will get to see which card you draw. So it's not strictly better than not having it in your hand. Fumble is a fantastic card. You can draw 2, and I personally tend to play kind of conservatively, so this first ability works much better for me all the time than it might look. And that -10 is very relevant because it's either going to be 10 health or something close to 10 health, or you can trade. So, you play, your opponent attacks you with their Draka's Enforcer, and then you play your Angel of the Gate, block with your Angel of the Gate, and then fumble their champion. And now you used fumble as a way to basically put an Angel of the Gate in play, because now your Angel of the Gate doesn't die. Alright. Muse is great. It's going to be a lot better in this type of deck, where I'm very likely, especially when I go back and fill out my evil cards. I actually have a lot of good cards every color here. Because I have Faithful Pegasus, Priestess Evangeline, Guilt Demon, Muse, and I'm probably also going to run Necromancer Lord and Corpse Taker, so that means, maybe not Corpse Taker, but I'm going to have a lot of targets for things that get rid of Muse efficiently, so we might be able to run our opponent out of good answers to it. I'm also going to play Ogre Mercenary as just another Faction Gold 0 breakdown the draft phase. Yeah, absolutely. I'll talk about that some more the next time that I draft. In general, you don't want... I would be a little uncomfortable going over 15 zeros, or I should say half of my deck being zeros. There's definitely a time and a place for it, but it also depends on what the zeros are. Because, if your deck is filled with things like Rax's Curse, at least when you have something to spend your gold, when you don't have anything to spend your gold on, you can draw 2 with it. But if you don't have any way to spend your gold in your hand, that's going to be very weak. And if you have just one way to spend your gold in your hand, that's also not a good place to be, because you are going to be stuck playing that card for your gold. So it does depend on what your deck looks like. There are definitely times where you can get away with more zeros because your deck's very reactive. So when my deck is reactive, I pass a lot on my turn, which means I'm spending my gold less. So I can afford to play more zeros because there'll be more times where I pass and my opponent passes. If my deck is more about forcing the opponent to react. So I'll give you an example. I would say Angel of the Gate is a reactive card. I don't ever want to play this when my opponent's gold is up, unless I have a very good reason to, or I'm going to die. Because if you play this, your opponent could answer it with Fires the Rebellion and draw a card, and you get nothing, or erase, and this goes back to your hand and they draw 2, or Bitten or Inner Demon on their turn and they get a token, or Banishment and they draw a card. So usually you don't want to spend your gold first on your opponent's turn, but if I had a deck full of cards like Angel of the Gate and lots of ways to draw cards, then I would be much more inclined to play more zeros. So usually I do the trimming at the end. So what I'll do is I'll just go through and fill out the cards that I think I'm going to play for sure. And then I look at my colors and I decide which color I'm probably going to invest in. And then I fill it out. I'll usually end up with more than 30. And then I'll cut out cards based on what I think I have too much of. Or I might go in and add a few cards in, like if I have no Punishers, I might play Rampaging Worm. Even though I think it's okay normally, I really like having at least one Punisher in my deck. And this card can punish very well. Oh yeah, exactly. Okay, yes, I do know what you mean now. You mentioned that last time, and I'll bring it up because I think it would be a fantastic thing to have in the game. Especially because we already have something like it here. And yeah, it was a really good suggestion. Alright. Lightning Storm is very versatile. The thing is about Lightning Storm is it's not the type of card that is going to be amazing. It's almost never going to do something as powerful as Rain of Fire can, which is deal 3, deal 4, deal 5, because you just get to, with that you can deal 5 to them and get rid of 2 small things. It's not going to be as powerful as Forked Lightning usually if you're hitting them. The real power of Lightning Storm is the versatility. So I like it in most decks because in random 60, because it gives you a way to spend your golds if you have no other way to do it. It gives you reach in your deck if you don't have a lot of burn. If your opponent's at 12 or less, you can Lightning Storm them on the end of their turn, and then on your turn recall Lightning Storm. So it forces them to gain health or make themselves untargetable before they pass priority to you on their turn. That's a very powerful play if your deck doesn't have any way to deal damage. So I'm probably going to end up playing this Lightning Storm since I do not have any ways to deal damage directly right now. Probably also going to play Flame Spike as a nice answer to cards like Muse and Thought Plucker, Necromancer Court, stuff like that. And it's always nice to have a few recycles. I think right now I have 4. I have Flame Spike, Ogre Mercenary, I guess Fumble's 5, Fumble, Priestess Evangeline, and Faithful Pegasus. So like I might end up cutting Faithful Pegasus if I feel like I have too many recycles, because in my opinion it's the weakest of my recycles. Alright, what else we have? So I would say this is about where I like to be before I start going back and choosing a color. I mean, I'll probably end up playing this Flashfire as well, just because it's a very efficient way to deal with tokens and things like that. And this Fireball because it has a utility mode for gold, which is sometimes relevant, but like I said, it's always nice to have ways to deal with random junk that's small, and I don't have a lot of ways to do that. Good doesn't have any ways to do that. I'm probably going to be heavy evil here, and I don't have Force Mage Apprentice or Siren's Song. So that's generally what I'm looking at. So if we look at the alignments I could play. Yep, you do. Once you lock it in, then you just play with that deck. I'm pretty sure that you just play with that deck. I guess we'll find out here. But I'm pretty sure that is how it works, yeah. So let me just talk about the loyalty options. If I played Wilds, what would I get out of it? I get to play Brachiosaurus, maybe. I don't actually have that many one-cost ways to spend my gold. And I have to play a lot of cards that I don't like playing. Like, I'm not particularly happy about playing Pack Alpha, Mighty Blow, or Rampaging Worm if I don't need them. I get to play Draka's Enforcer, which is an above-average card. Basically, drawing a card, this is going to be a nice thing to do on your opponent's turn. It's one of the better things you can do. And I get to play Pyrosaur, which is a great card. Probably the best one, the one I'm most excited about in this pool, because it's 4 damage to them, plus it breaks all of their demon tokens and things with 4 less health. And it's also just a Punisher, so it can deal 10 if they don't block it. And I could play Scaros, but basically this Loyalty X is probably only going to be 3 or 4 because I don't have that many wild cards. So in my mind, that doesn't make Wild particularly worth it. Don't think these cards are worth it. I think Brachiosaurus is a high risk, high reward card. Not necessarily, but in this type of deck where I might just not even get a one-cost wild card in my hand to go along with it, it's just going to be very awkward. And Draka's Enforcer and Scaros, Pyrosaur it's not worth going into Wild for those, in my opinion. Alright, if I went to Sage, what would I get? So basically what I'm doing is I'm just looking at things like Loyalty or ally abilities. And if you wanted to, you could actually type that in here, Loyalty. There are some other cards which aren't like cards that reveal to Sage directly. So if we looked at that, the Psionic Assault, I'm currently not running any one-cost Sage cards, so I'd be adding a bunch more one-cost Sage cards in order for Psionic Assault to be better than my opponent discards too. Yeah, I'm gonna go evil. I'm just going through everything. Yeah, this is my favorite of the 4 formats. I like this, the thing that I really like about Random 60 is it lets you, like you said, dip your toes into building a deck, because sometimes, especially when you haven't really played that much, the card pool can be really overwhelming, and this way you're cutting half the cards if you want to think about it like that. You're choosing which half you want to play and which half you don't want to play, so it's all the fun of deck building, but you get a mixture of just the randomness of getting a pool, but also kind of forcing you to play with different and new cards, and also building a deck without having to look at everything. So it can be much easier. Alright. And also cards like, you get to see more cards that go the distance. You're much more likely to play a Sea Hydra that, gets 14 counters on it and swings for the win in random 60 than in constructed. Alright, so Keeper of Secrets and Shadow Imp. These cards are reasonable. Again, Shadow Imp would require me to play a bunch more one-cost Sage cards, and Keeper of Secrets, I really like the recycle, but again, I don't think I have enough support for it. And Steel Golem is pretty good. But I'm basically just explaining here why I'm probably not going to go Sage or Wild. Evil is very fantastic. I'm definitely going to be going Evil. I get to pick up Angel of Death here. I get to pick up Medusa and Murderous Necromancer and Necromancer Lord and Succubus and Spawning Demon and Unquenchable Thirst. Now, I would say that not only are these, with the exception of perhaps Succubus, not only are these above average, but this is, in my opinion, the cream of the crop when it comes to loyalty. Something like Angel of Death is just so powerful as far as effects go. You get to clear the board, but this has Airborne, which is extremely relevant. There's no tokens with Airborne, so if that means whenever they want to block this, they have to actually use a physical champion, a card from their hand, to block it. And the fact that it clears the board means that you get to have a threat attached to a card that you're just playing as utility, which is really what your board clears are. They're ways that you don't get too far behind. Basically, they're catch-up cards. Like, a lot of the time, I think I had that one constructed deck which had 2 or 3 Inheritance of the Meeks in it, and that was because the deck wasn't planning on getting behind. The plan was just ignore what your opponent is doing. I mean, don't ignore them, but kind of try and mitigate whatever their play is by bouncing their stuff and just interacting with their hand. So usually when I play an alignment, I'll actually play more cards of that color than I normally would. So I think Little Devil is a maybe. I'm definitely going to be playing it here because I need that loyalty. And Reaper Sow, in my opinion, I'd rather have Martial Law than Reaper Sow in my deck, but I'd rather have Reaper Sow in a deck that's heavy evil than Martial Law. I'm not very happy about Dark Leader, and Drinker of Blood could be okay. We have a couple of things that go really well with it. We have Flash Fire, which is always nice. So if the opponent has a bunch of tokens, then you can play Drinker of Blood and then play Flash Fire to gain a lot of health and deal a lot of damage. So that does have its benefits. If I end up, this would be a fine card if I'm looking for another slot, but it's definitely not. Yeah, I did put the Little Devil in. The Drinker of Blood is definitely a type of card where it just requires a lot of setup, so usually it's more circumstantial. You can just win the game instantly with Drinker of Blood, but it could also just sit in your hand and you could be very sad that you don't have a different card because you don't really ever want to play this when you're not going to get immediate effect out of that bottom half, unless you're really sure your opponent will have a hard time dealing with it. Alright. I mean, there's some times where you just have a board that's way ahead of your opponent and you play it before you attack so that they basically take unblock. They basically take damage no matter what they do. Alright. I like Avenging Angel, actually. I think Avenging Angel is going to go in this deck. Avenging Angel is a Punisher. So this is a type of card that you play if you don't have very many Blitz champions. And if we just scroll through my deck right here, I don't think I have any Blitz champions short of Succubus here. Succubus is pretty nice. It's basically going to be 6 offense with Blitz in the air, but it's not a crazy tempo swing. I'm going to be using it as an establisher a lot of the time. On the other hand, Avenging Angel is a 12-point swing, and they have to remove it before attacking. So it's really fantastic. Alright, what else are we going to play? So as far as board wipes go, I have Reaper Sow and I have Angel of Death. So I'm probably going to play at least another one of these, and Inheritance of the Meek, I guess it's 3. Might play one more. It's probably Martial Law over Quell. because I don't really have anything super crazy going on with Quell in this deck. And Martial Law is nice because uh, you can play it as an off-turn banish effect if you need it. Sometimes the 4 human tokens isn't too bad. Maybe you have a Flash Fire in hand to take them out, or you're just going to toss down something like even just a Priestess Evangeline after playing your Martial Law can keep random human tokens at bay. Because I mean they don't really want to spend a card to get rid of your Priestess Evangeline. Alright, so we have 4 picks left. Now, like I said, normally I would cut cards, but I might actually end up just going up to 30 and then stopping on this deck because right now I'm liking a lot of my cards. I'm not seeing anything that's particularly enticing. A reset might actually be reasonable in this deck since I have Ogre Mercenary, Little Devil, Guilt Demon, Faithful Pegasus, Priestess, and Martial Law, and it works really well with all of those. It also works well with Corpse Taker, so I could do something like Corpse Taker, reset. I'm looking at things I like to think about. How's my zero count looking? Do I have enough zeros? Do I have too many zeros? So if we look at this, I have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, which I would say is a lot, generally speaking. But overall, Arcane Research to me doesn't count too much since I'm usually just going to cycle it for whatever I need. And I am playing a reactive deck. So this is a good example of a deck that is mostly going to just let the opponent play something first and then make a play based on that. I've got really great reactive cards like Medusa, and even Succubus, I would say, I often use it. I often hold on to it and use it when my opponent plays a good champion, which you'll see a lot more of in this format because people are just going to play cards from every color. For that reason, I'll probably also play this White Knight here since yeah, too early, right? It's right. Yeah. It really is. Well, I mean, the thing is, I also just tend to play slower decks. And I tend to make plays that I play very slow and reactive. So what that means is cards like Avenging Angel are going to be more powerful for me than someone that plays a lot more. Like, I wouldn't put Avenging Angel in most wild decks because you already have so many punishers. You already have usually the dealing more damage to your opponent is more important than gaining health because you're already dealing direct damage to them and you've got direct damage in your hand. So you don't want to put them in a situation where they're stabilizing. So 6 health you gain from Avenging Angel is usually not very relevant in wild decks. It goes kind of against the game plan. Alright, so I think the cards I'm looking at right now, I'm looking at Hunting Pack. I think this card is actually pretty good. It's underrated. You get 3 wolf tokens and you deal 6 damage or something. So let's say your opponent has an Angel of Death out. Then you can play the Hunting Pack, break it, the Angel of Death, and then you also get 3 wolf tokens. So it's a removal that also puts something in play. How many draw twos? I have plenty of ways to draw cards actually, so I should be fine in that capacity. I don't have very many things to do on my own turn. I put the White Knight in my deck, and the Succubus and the Mirish Necromancer, so that's 3. But that's pretty much it as far as establishing champions go. So I might see if I can try and find more of those. I might end up playing this Marcus here. I think Marcus is a much better card in this format because players always take Thoughtblocker or Knight of Shadows, and so usually you'll find a way to discard this to your opponent. Plus, sometimes you can get synergy with Martial Law or something like that. And it's not completely unreasonable that I'll hit the Loyalty 2 on it and draw a card. I'll probably toss that in my deck. Let's see what else we have. Alright, we have 2 more picks to make. Might just want some more direct target removal. So let's see how much removal we have. I'm playing Lightning Storm. Medusa. First Necromancer doesn't really count. Unquenchable Thirst kind of counts. Doing a lot of board clearing. Inherits the Meek, Martial Law. Yeah, I definitely need more removal. So I'm probably going to play Hunting Pack and Transform. You could play Transform or Lying in Wait. I think they're both reasonable. I'm going to go with the Transform. I generally prefer Transform to Lying in Wait. I think it's personal preference. I'm not really sure which of those two cards is going to be better. Transform has the drawback of giving your opponent a blocker. So if you are an aggressive deck, you'll prefer Lying in Wait because it's better when you're racing. But if you transform their thing and you have a big threat out, then now your big threat gets blocked once. So that's the main downside. All right, I think this is a pretty good deck. I'm pretty happy with the way it looks. What do we have for recycles? Flashfire, Fumble, Ogre Mercenary. Unquenchable Thirst basically counts because it's going to eat a lot of cards out of my discard pile when I play it. Faithful Pegasus, Priestess of Angeline. That's 6. I'm pretty close to tipping point, but I think I'm just going to hold on to all of them. At 6, I'm pretty happy. That's like 1 in every 5. So I should always add 2 cards to my discard pile with the first 4. I think if I had 10 recycles, then I would frequently get 2 recycles in my hand, which I would not like that in the early game. That would make your early game much weaker. Yeah. I could play Bodyguard. So the thing is, I have, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's reasonable in my deck. Basically, I would have to cut something for it. I don't think it fills a role that's important. I have plenty of ways to just block randomly, and I'm not going to be aggressive with it. It also it has a couple of I won't usually want to play Marcus. I usually want to hold it in my hand. I think that Bodyguard will be a bit tough for me to use in this deck, so I'm probably not going to take it. I think it's not as important as the other cards that I've chosen. Like I think I'm a little lacking in single target removal. I might want to put Lying in Wait in my deck, but I'm not really sure what I want to cut, so I think I'm just going to play it as it is. Usually cards like White Knight and Succubus are extra good in this format because you'll always find a target of some kind. Alright, let's run it back. Oh, can't see them. Alright, I see. I can just move this over. I'll just put it on the left side and we'll see if that has any issues. Alright, I'm at 30. We're going to go for it. Okay. Right, yep, so now I'm locked in. I can look at my deck, I can't change it at all. Now it's organized by alignment. You'll notice I only have 5 Sage cards, 1 cost Sage card, and 4 zeros, so I would have had to make a lot of changes if I wanted to play Steel Golem, Keeper of Secrets, which I think are both powerful cards in this format. Keeper of Secrets especially, sorry, not Keeper of Secrets. Steel Golem is especially powerful in Dark Draft, where your opponent's less likely to have an answer to it. But in Random 60, I think people pick up off-turn Wraths, like Inheritance of the Meek, much more frequently. Alright, until gameplay. Yeah, this kind of hides my opponent. But I can move it around. I can put it wherever I want. We'll put it right there. See how it is. Now, even though you plan to spend your gold, you don't actually have to always. What's really interesting about this one is I feel like players first start playing, they really over-evaluate the 1-cost cards and under-evaluate the 0-cost cards. And then they play for a while, and then they get into situations where they have a handful of 1-cost cards, or their opponent is just playing 0 after 0, and suddenly the 0-cost cards are the best. And I feel like at that point, people over-evaluate the 0-cost cards and under-evaluate the 1-cost cards. But at some point, they'll draw too many zeros in their hand, or they won't have a good 1-cost play to make every turn, and it evens out. Yeah, I can move that. I can move that anywhere I want. I mean, I'm just using OBS, so you can add text in or add a strobe light or something. I don't know. I don't actually know all the features of OBS. I haven't used it too much. All right, so we're going first, and just like someone said, I don't know if it was a Pix. I did in fact start with it in my hand. Oh man. Oh no, Cash said it. Yeah, I started with Avenging Angel in my hand here. Alright, so unfortunately we're going first. I don't think we can keep this. We don't have an option play to make except Hunting Pack. I need to just find a better play to make. I feel like I have to discard both of these, unfortunately. Succubus and Murderous Necromancer are both good starting plays. Hunting Pack might work out. It's a little risky what I'm doing here, but I don't really want to just mulligan all of these evil cards, especially since I have a lot of evil loyalty cards in my deck. But I might not find other evil cards when I draw them. So I'm just going to keep these three. I'm going to toss Flame Spike and Avenging Angel. Avenging Angel isn't a card you want in your opening hand because it's a Punisher. So you want your opponent to spend their gold first and then use this. And Flame Spike has Recycle, so I'm tossing it. And hopefully we can find a draw two or something like that. Alright, what am I going to do here? I'm probably going to play this Arcane Research for 0 to start off the game. So I'll just reveal the top card of my deck and put it into my hand. Alright, I got Angel of the Gate. So the opponent knows about this Angel of the Gate, basically. And then I'm going to play the Succubus. Well, I mean, I could pass here. I think that's actually better. I'm just going to pass the turn. So I don't have a crazy good play to make going first. I could play the Succubus, draw a card, but if I don't hit Loyalty 2, in my opinion, it's pretty weak to just play a 6/5 Airborne that draws a card. It's okay. Cycle Winter Fairy, but you get a little bit extra stats, but you lose the advantage of drawing an extra card or 2 or 3. Yeah. Yeah. I was just trying to think of something ridiculous that I could put on the screen. So yeah, I'm going to pass here. I also want to hold on to it in case I can find a good answer, a good thing to use this ally ability with. Now, this is awkward. I think what I'm going to do here is discard the Murderous Necromancer because there's nothing else I really want to discard. I want to hold on to the Angel of the Gate. I am going to Hunting Pack that right now. So I'm just going to discard this. I mean, I guess I could play Succubus, draw a card, then I have to discard Angel of the Gate, and then I can Hunting Pack that on their turn. Alright, we're going to do that play instead. I have this Hunting Pack, I'll just do that on their turn. That way I'm not forced into playing Angel of the Gate on their turn. Now this is exactly why I think packing Marcus in my deck is a good idea. But I was considering doing Hunting Pack and then immediately Priestess Evangeline to recycle. And that way I kind of get more options. But we're just going to Succubus here. Oh, and I did get it. That's always nice. Just attack right away. Basically get a Punisher here for free. Sometimes when you pass without spending your gold, your opponent thinks that your hand is weak or that you don't have anything good to spend your gold on first, and they just spend their gold anyway. I think that's risky because basically if people always did that, then it would be weak. So I don't usually make that play. It's also possible that I just mulliganed into something like a Rampaging Worm or something like that. So I'm not just going to start my game off by playing Rampaging Worm. I would just pass there. So just playing a card when your opponent passes is not usually correct. They could just start their turn, draw a card, either play something or pass back to me until I spend my gold to do something. And then they can play their Thought Plucker. Yeah, right? It's fine. We have this Hunting Pack. Let's just not get blown out by like a Mighty Blow. If our opponent Mighty Blow this Thought Plucker, then I might just lose. Alright, they didn't. Oh man. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and put the rules into play and break that. This play is a little dangerous because we're spending our gold first, and our opponent knows about every card in our hand except for Priestess Evangeline. But it's way better than getting hit by that Thought Plucker, and it's just, I think it's a much better line than Hunting Pack on my own turn, into Priestess, into Angel of Light on their turn, probably. Or Angel of the Gate, I mean, not Angel of Light. I have to discard Murderous Necromancer, and then I never get this loyalty too. This way our opponent starts off at 6 less, and if they have a board clear, they basically have to play that or Final Task right now. Yeah, exactly. Marcus is probably going to be right above Avenging Angel. It'll be like Avenging Angel just got mulliganed, and then right above that is Marcus. If I started with Marcus, I would have considered mulliganing all of my evil cards away. Think about how good Marcus would have been there. I mean, I guess if run out, I guess it would already be out, but still. All right, this is a nice play for us because this is also what I would consider to be a weak play. So I'm going to get that recycle right away since I don't think our opponent is going to be on the clearing the board plan if they're playing this. And this way I get to see if there's another card which is relevant to my hand. One thing that is a little scary about this hand is I don't have any ways to draw more cards. So I'm just kind of stuck with this. But we're going to go ahead and attack with Succubus. I recycled right away in case our opponent does something with Guild Demon or Amnesia right now, or Erratic Research. I mean, they could, if they had Guild Demon in hand, they might play like a Guild Demon plus anything that makes it bigger. Right, they're just going to play Angel of Mercy, which is strange to me, but that's fine. I think Angel of Mercy is strange to me because it loses this fight, so I imagine they're going to make this bigger. Something like a Go Wilds wouldn't surprise me right here. I think that Go Wilds make the most sense of any card they could have in hand right now. Right, they're going to Revolt. Revolt causes this to be a trade, so it doesn't actually save their champion. I think this is a pretty weak use of their gold. I would have just taken the 6 and then tried to see what else my opponent did. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is actually try and get value out of this Fireball, probably. So I'm just going to get in with my Wolf tokens. Well, I mean, I could do that on their turn. I could. Problem is, I don't really like the line of Murderous Necromancer, Reveal 2, and then Fireball on their turn because it's just weak to a lot of things. It's weak to, firstly, they know my entire hand. And secondly, if they get rid of these wolf tokens or do something else, then I feel really, really bad about that. So I'm just going to attack in with some of these wolves, see if they block. Alright, they are going to block that one. They know about this Reaper Sow, so they probably assume I'm going to clear the board based on the play that I'm making right now. Yeah, there is like a sort of level, but, oh, and arena matchmaking. No. I mean, you get paired up against people which have closer to your number of wins, but that's it. It's not like there's like a skill level type thing. Alright, so, and you also, the matchmaking system prefers not pairing you up against someone you've played against recently, just in general. Alright, so in this case, we can Fireball here to deal 3 damage and then also take out both of these. So this will be something like a Rain of Fire, effectively. And I'm going to use it. Normally, I think I try and say Fireball for the 0 cost mode, but in general, this is just... I don't have a very... My hand is kind of... because I don't have any ways to draw cards, I want to try and stretch it out as much as possible. And that means using my 0 cost cards for the 1 gold up modes. But I'm just going to talk. I mean, Thing is, Marcus isn't even great all the time. I would be very unhappy to draw Marcus here. So in this situation, this is a good example of when I would not spend my gold first. I can take the 4, it's no big deal. The opponent has to act first, and I really want them to act first. I mean, it would be even happier if they passed to me, but if they decide to play something, I got Medusa back up, or I can just make 4 zombies. Those are both reasonable plays, depending on what our opponent does. I know it is going to be a struggle. Well, I did think about digging more for a draw 2, because I did have a weak hand. Alright, they got a Winds of Change. I don't know if I want to... Alright, I think I have to do it. 9's a lot to just take. I'm going to go ahead and break that with Medusa. Now, the bad thing about this play is our opponent knows our entire hand. They already knew about those 2 cards, but we just played the 2 that they didn't know about. And we re-revealed them, so they just got a refresher. But this way our opponent basically wasted their gold. They spent it drawing a card, and the thing that they spent their gold on doing was completely nullified by my gold. Alright, we got a draw 2, and that's very nice, because I can actually play the Murderous Necromancer, revealing both of these if I want. Yeah, it is, yeah. That's common in most games, though. Players are reluctant to use their health as a resource in most games that I've played. But in Epic, I mean, the way it's like a video game, right? When you're at 1 health, and it's not like you start fighting worse in most games. You can be at 1 or 100. You still can do everything that you could normally do. You don't get extra abilities for having more health. So doing damage to your opponent isn't relevant unless you're killing them. I mean, you do have to deal damage eventually, but... Yeah, and I would say this is another mistake here. They could definitely, in this situation, what I would do is I'd play Bodyguard, block with just the Bodyguard. My Medusa gets chumped. Then pass back. Now, if they start their turn, they can just draw a card. And if I pass, they can just draw a card. If I attack with Priestess Evangeline, then they can play Royal Escort to at least try and get some kind of advantage. And if they want to, if I do something else, then they can play this Royal Escort and return that Bodyguard to their hand and replay it. It also doesn't force them to play this Royal Escort because, I mean, I guess they really wanted to make their Bodyguard untargetable. But yeah, I think it's just what you're saying, how they just really didn't want to take 6. Alright, so I'm definitely just going to play Murderous Necromancer here. It's a good time to play it. The opponent has to do something. They've invested. I was a little reluctant to play it because if there's nothing on board, this is a really juicy board wipe here. You get basically about 2 gold's worth of champions, and I'll have a small hand. But now they'll also get rid of their own Royal Escort. Yeah, it's true. I think that's honestly, I think that's really, it's all games. Game theory, that's what it comes down to, is at first you just start to think about the direct outcome of your actions. Like if I play this Bodyguard, then I'll have this 2-1 in play. And that's it. And the recall is a bonus. You play another good card, and then this goes back to your hand. And you're just, oh wow, I got this Bodyguard, that's great. But maybe over time you start to think, oh, this Bodyguard is useful at blocking big things because I get to keep reusing it. So I'm going to play it when my opponent attacks with a big thing. And then maybe you play for a bunch longer, and then you start to think about how do I want to line up this and my gold so that I get a lot of use out of this recall ability. And really, I think that's... Alright, so they are probably going to board clear here based on that attack. Very, very unusual attack. They might have some way to give it breakthrough. I don't have a way to really punish them. I could do something like Murderous Necromancer at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, so I could do Zombie, 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 Murderous Necromancer, and then that would in theory break, but if they have a Rage or a Lash, then they can get in for their 7. Yeah, it won't be the end of the world. I think they're just going to play a Banish All or something, though. Yeah. I mean, it's like when I was playing the last game on stream, the Constructed deck, and I just was not playing my Rift Summoner because I knew that I really wanted to have a threat to play when my opponent decided to clear the board, because I was playing against a deck that had a lot of ways to clear the board in it. So I choose to make weaker plays just so that I could hold on to that Rift Summoner, so that when my opponent cleared the board, I could just immediately reapply pressure. Alright. And I'm not going to play this Spying Demon. It just gets chumped by the Bodyguard really well, and they could have a 0-cost answer to it right now, a Lightning Strike or something like that. Plus, if I play it and then play a 1-cost card that activates the ally ability right away, and there's no way to punish me, if they attack with this, though, I'll probably play it. Yep. This is a nice value. Get to remove the Bodyguard from play, and especially in this type of deck, this type of format, they might not have another way to get it back in hand. Now, what's really relevant about this Divine Judgment play is it could draw them 2 cards. So I imagine that they have another off-turn play that draws them cards, or I think that play was pretty weak, but assuming that they didn't, that they do actually have another play to make. I guess they can recall Demon Breach. Alright, so I'm just going to play this Faithful Pegasus right away. I just don't want to lose these cards and then not be able to recycle with this because I'm so low on cards. And I'll attack with the Spawning Demon. I think it's just good to be aggressive in general. Being aggressive, I mean, even though I don't have any good way to answer it, if they played like a Lurking Giant or something here, then I would be sad. But they don't know that. They don't know these 2 cards I have, and I haven't spent my gold yet. So if they always tried to punish me here, then it would turn out bad for them most of the time. And plus, why would I be attacking with this if I didn't have a good way to protect it? So I'm basically making a bluff here. Alright, they did play Word of Summoning, which is sad for me. It's a very good answer to this. I'm going to be probably drawing 2 with Flashfire. I think that's more important than making a bunch of tokens, basically. I can do that on their turn. So I'm just going to let this trade happen. Is there anything in my deck that would be relevant? I probably should have just drawn 2 first. But yeah, I really want to fill up my hand some more. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw 2. Do I have any Blitz Humans? I guess I can just attack with this first. Yomi. Now, Faithful Pegasus, whenever it attacks for blocks, you get to give a human airborne this turn. So it's actually really powerful with Lord of the Arena, because you get to give your Lord of the Arena airborne. And there's also humans that aren't good. So you can play it with Knight of Alara or Time Walker. Trying to think of another good one. I mean, Marcus kind of counts. It's really funny if the opponent plays like a Knight of Shadows on their turn, and then Marcus is in play, and then your turn starts, and you play Faithful Pegasus, and you just attack with both of them in the air. Oh man. But we're in a good spot at this point. Our opponent has Bodyguard, which really isn't that big of a problem. We have what? Guilt Demon. I think that's our only answer to it, to getting rid of it forever. We could also banish all with Inheritance or Martial Law while it's in play. I think actually Succubus also banishes, right? Bodyguard, White Dragon. Alright, they're going to play White Dragon and recycle. See, right here I may have, so that tells me they don't have another good card in hand, because otherwise they probably would have played Bodyguard, attacked, and then after combat played this Angel of Light, so that they could just get it for 2 for free. But I think they didn't want to do that in case I did nothing about their Bodyguard, and then they don't have a second card to reveal for this Angel of Light. Now, this is an interesting play here. Basically, what they're doing is their Angel of Light on turn is a bit weak. It's not too bad, but that way they can activate their White Dragon. So this card, if you've played a 1-cost good card this turn, Recycle. I think this is a really interesting card, and stat-wise, it's very powerful. You get a 5/5 Airborne and you recycle for 0, but you have to have played a 1-cost good card. So you want to play it in a deck that has 1-cost cards like that you actually want to play on your turn, like as either things that set up for you or punishers like Avenging Angel. I'm going to go ahead and draw 2 with Fumble. I'm just basically trying to sculpt my hand a bit. That Muse may have been incorrect. I probably just should have Angel of Death here. That's fine though. This is a good turn to have Angel of Death. Alright, the free Marcus is very enjoyable. It's always great too. Alright, they're going to come in with a little double. That's fine. 4 damage is, this is basically the first damage we're taking this game. I don't think I've taken any other damage. I mean, I mulliganed for 2. So that cost us 2 health. Alright, we're going to go ahead and draw 2. And we got that Guild Demon, so we need to save this for when we can hit a Bodyguard with it. Pretty much the first time I can do that, I'll probably just use it right away. So now the real question here is, do I Angel of Death anyway, even though I lose Muse? I don't like doing that. I don't like doing that. Probably gonna just Woke a Mercenary and see if I get Necromancer Lord. Oh, I did. Oh, perfect. I just have to name the card that I want, and then I'll get it. Opponent already knows about this Reap, so I'm just going to go ahead and use this to get back my Succubus. Yeah, the opponent doesn't have anything in there. Succubus, and then I can go ahead and draw a card, reveal both again to give Succubus splits here, and the Succubus can banish a good champion, and I can probably just get rid of that Angel of Light. It's a little weak against Zandaris, but not going to worry about it. Fantastic swing around here. We're already in a fantastic spot. Twitch overlay to see the cards better. It needs to be played after. So a Tribute, if you played a 1-cost good card this turn, recycle. So as soon as you play it, it checks to see if you've played a good 1-cost card this turn. Dark Lightning Storm, sorry, Forked Lightning, and that takes out both Necromancer Lord and Succubus. So probably gonna play this Little Devil and just pass with it up, since I think I have a pretty significant advantage. I mean, I guess I could just jump the White Dragon with Pegasus here. Yeah, that's fine. They have a Bodyguard in hand. I'll do that. Anyway, so what I was getting at was I don't think I want to play this because the Muse is already really valuable. So right now, clearing all of our stuff would be bad for us. If I played Little Devil, then I would just be setting myself even harder for a Draka's Fire or Draka or Pyrosaur. I mean, I guess you can't have Draka because they have one good card and 2 unknown cards. Anyway, I'm gonna block this with the Faithful Pegasus. Faithful Pegasus has done its job. It recycled, dealt 2 damage, and gained us 5 health. Let me tell no. The Barfer. What are you looking for when you talk about Twitch overlay? Do you just mean, oh, I have a card that is really like I can show the cards on the screen, or are you talking about just having the chat inside of the game screen? All right, I'm just going to take the 4 here. Get a light bulb. I'll look into that. That would be great. Yeah, I'd have to look further into that. Alright, they're going to go ahead and play Winged Death here. So this is another Punisher. A very circumstantial Punisher. Basically, when you play it, you get to break a the opponent has to break a champion, and when it deals damage to them, they have to break a champion. So it's a really great way to punish things like Medusa, where they get value and they put a champion into play, but they do it before you do, or they drain essence one of your things, but you don't have, they have champions in play, then the Winged Death is going to get 2 things and deal 4 damage to them. Anyway, the Ogre Mercenary is definitely clearly the weaker card. And then I'm actually probably going to toss the Guild Demon in the way of this when it attacks. Yeah. Fair enough. Lightbulb Icon is a tip, the tip viewer. So I usually just play with it off, but it would show you something like, oh, this airborne champion is attacking you, so you have to have an airborne champion to block it. But it also does things like, during this phase would be, is the best time to play a combat trick, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but, alright, so I have to block this, because otherwise, I don't have to block this. I can just sacrifice a human token. Alright. I really want to get rid of that, oh, never mind, we found a better answer. Quenchable Thirst will deal 1 damage for each evil card that I banish, +1, so I'm going to go ahead and play this Unquenchable Thirst, and I'll banish 2 of my evil cards. I'm trying to think if I have any real things that interact with my discard pile aside from Necromancer Lord, and it doesn't look like I do, so I'm just going to toss all 3 so I gain the maximum amount of health. And then if we get to start our turn here, we'll draw 2 off the Muse, so that's very good. Yeah, I could leave the tip thing on if you want. Alright, so let's see what I'm doing here. I am just gonna get in with my human tokens since they're not gonna block these airborne champions at all. And I'm probably gonna play White Knight here and banish the Little Devil with it, since I can use its expendability to banish an evil champion. And our opponent is running out of gas. They have, when I say that, I mean they don't have very many effective things they can do on their turns anymore. They have a Bodyguard as one of their 2 cards, which is the 0-cost card that I'm going to go ahead and get in with Muse here. Going to be pretty aggressive. If they spend a card to get rid of this Muse, then I'll just Angel of Death, or somehow otherwise clear the board. But if they don't have a good answer to it, then it's just, I might as well get that free 2 damage. Yeah, so I'm going to play this White Knight here, which will draw a card, and then I'll reveal both of my good cards to give it Blitz, and I'm going to do the safer play, which is just break an evil champion instead of attacking with it. And I am going to go ahead and toss up this Little Devil without attacking, because our opponent hasn't spent their gold, and they might not have a good gold play to make. They can recall their Demon Breach. I think they should if they have nothing else to do. But it's very unlikely this card here gets rid of this Little Devil and also puts them in an advantageous position. Once you're at, 1, 2, or 1 card in your hand, then you really need to start drawing cards. Yeah. I'll see what I can do. I'll look into that. Alright, they just recalled the Demon Breach, so I'm just going to pass. I really want to use the Guild Demon on their Bodyguard, but they haven't played it yet. So this Little Devil is just going to block that that dragon when it attacks. I'm not super concerned about card advantage right here. I can just keep pressuring them. They have to deal with the board. So I'm just using this Little Devil as a gain 5 health, pretty much. And if they decide to spend their golds, then I can Lightning Storm, get rid of the White Dragon, and then have 5 other damage to assign. Alright, they are just passing here. So I don't need to draw more cards. I don't need to add things to the board. They spent their gold, so I should spend mine. I'm going to go ahead and Lightning Storm, take out the white dragon here, and then I'll also go ahead and deal 1 damage to them with the 6. Alright, and then I'm going to go ahead and let them see if they want to do something. Probably not. Because this Muse is still alive, I don't really need to be concerned about card advantage. I'll just keep drawing a lot of cards, and then they will be forced to react to what I'm doing. I'm going to keep playing cards that have a big impact on the board, and basically not worrying about, there I could have drawn 2. Should also, if I had 4 cards in hand, I would have drawn 2 instead of Lightning Storming, for example. Alright, they're going to play Zealous Necromancer here, and they're looking for some kind of out. They just played this because they really wanted to draw a card right away. We have seen earlier in the game, I've gotten attacks through where they passed, usually when I just attack with human tokens. So they do know that it's not always wise to spend your gold as soon as possible. Now, Zealous Necromancer says, whenever another champion dies, if it wasn't a zombie and this one's still in play, then they get a zombie token. So, in other words, if I attack with this human and my human token gets blocked, they get a zombie token. So, all of a sudden, attacking with things like this human token are now not a very good idea. I'm going to go ahead and get in with this Muse as well. Main thing that would be bad about this is if they had something that dealt damage to my attacking champions for 0. Card advantage for the win. I also like Zealous. I know. You know what would be really great right now would be Avenging Angel. The ever elusive Angel. For those of you who haven't seen the past couple of streams, it's kind of an ongoing joke that I never draw Avenging Angel unless it's the first card in my hand. So it's now the elusive Angel. They still have that Demon Breach. I don't know. Kind of want to Marcus, take out that demon token, and then group attack with 2 humans, and I can finish off his Zealous Necromancer with Flame Spike. Probably the play. Maybe I'll just transform that and pass. I mean, it's kind of lame, but I don't need to do anything really gross, so I might as well just take it super safe. In case they have more ways to make me discard cards. They have, so 2 of these cards are Demon Breach, which puts 3 demon tokens into play, and Bodyguard, which is a 2/1, 0 cost, good champion that with Blitz and Ambush, and if they play a good card while it's in the discard pile, then it'll go back to their hand. So if they play the Demon Breach again, then Marcus will get a lot of value. Once again here, I'm just going to be just chumping their attacks. I could take the 2. It's also reasonable. But once again, I'm in a position where they really want to clear the board, so generally I tend to play towards as though I'm hedging my bets. Basically, if they tried to punish as much as possible, then they had the worst play for me. Then how can I mitigate that? I don't always do that. I do that when I'm very far ahead. And here I have a very big advantage. I have 6 combat attacking them every turn. They have 2 ground tokens, which I can easily clean up with Marcus at some point, because when this comes into play, it'll banish up to 3 token champions. And then I also have 7 cards in hand versus their 4. So I'm going to play conservatively. They're going to play Knight of Shadows here, and I'm going to blow them out with this Marcus. So whenever you discard Marcus, you just put it into play. And so this way, I just get to banish 3, and I have Loyalty 2 to draw a card. So this is a perfect example of what I was talking about when I was explaining why I think Marcus is really good in Random 60, is people love to play Knight of Shadows and Thoughtplucker. They just love those cards so much. Alright. I did get my Avenging Angel. Probably going to clean it up this turn. I'm just going to go ahead and make 5 human tokens with this. Be extra annoying. Might as well. I'm going to draw 2, so I'm going to go up to 8. So I'm just worrying about the board right now, and I'm putting pressure on the opponent. Force them, if they have a good way to get rid of these humans for gold, maybe they'll play a Plague or something, and then I can follow up with Avenging Angel. Now, if you do run out of cards in your deck and you draw a card, then you win the game. So it's also Marcus is actually on top of. Was it actually? I wasn't paying attention. Oh man, Marcus and Avenging Angel just hanging out in the bar. Rain of Fire. And so this is a perfect. And now we're going to actually get to use Avenging Angel for its real purpose. That's awesome. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and attack him with these humans separately. If they don't react, then they probably want to block the 10, which is also fine. Even though Avenging Angel is great, you still want to force your opponent to make plays without extra information. So here they might make a play which maybe they have a hasty retreat in hand. Maybe they're going to hasty retreat my Marcus. Alright, they're just going to go ahead and block one human. I'm fine with that. This has unblockable, so I can't block it. So there's no point in saving these. I met their gold already, so I don't really want to plan around anything. Now, what's really perfect about this Avenging Angel is that we're about to play it, attack, gain 6 health, deal 6 damage, and our opponent will not be able to attack with that unblockable champion. This is going to be one of... Wow. Yeah, Marcus was literally on top. Alright, they're going to go ahead and play that bodyguard. I'm going to flame spike it. A little aggressive here, but I'm basically using I'm going to banish cards that have recycle, so I draw them sooner. This way, I'm effectively having my 0-cost flame spike be a deal 10 damage to them. I'm getting rid of their bodyguards. Their bodyguard can't block this. And then I'll go ahead and get in. I think we might just have the game here. Let's do Guild Demon first, just in case they have an answer. They'll use it on this, probably. Like an airborne ambush champion or something. Go ahead and get rid of whatever the most annoying thing is. But yeah, I mean, basically, this deck was a good example of one of archetypes that I tend to make a lot in Random 60, which is value cards, and I heavily invest in one color, and then everywhere else I just play cards that fill in the cracks in my deck. So I'll play cards that I think are generally worse normally, but they have an extra role if they fulfill in my deck. All right. I gotta ride the people. Foil. What time is it? It is past 9. Unfortunately, alright. I'll go ahead and play this game, and then I'm gonna call it. Let's see. So I'm going first. If Sam to Death is here. I'm going first. This hand's actually terrible. I guess I'll keep 1, draw 2. So I'll keep 1 of those, and I'll probably just keep the rest and pass. I remember this deck doesn't have very many establishing cards. I could play Djinn of the Sands or Sea Titan or Misguide Herald. So I basically have 3. And that's it. I guess Anos is also a big one, but we want a bigger hand to play it. So I'm probably not going to draw a card that is super relevant. Oh, I got Xanos. Could just play it. It's 3. Yeah, I think it's good here. That was a long game. I also took a lot of time explaining my drafting process and also explaining some of my turns. I took longer than I normally do, now that the time has been increased. Alright, I'll give it a couple minutes here, and if they're not on, then I'm just gonna head off. And we'll get some games in with this Army of the Apocalypse deck. It needs some tuning, I think. Since I'm not quite, I think it's still a little all over the place. It needs something to do on turn. It needs more of those. I mean, Djinn of the Sands, okay, maybe I should replace it with Juggernaut, but I don't think I want to because the loyalty 2s for Sage are hard to pull off with this deck. You don't have very many Sage cards, so it's going to be hard to get a loyalty 2 off Sage. Maybe Gudgeon would be good. It'd help fill our hand. It's good on-turn play if you have nothing else to do. Maybe I could splash another color. I mean, I don't think this deck wants Avenging Angel that hard. It doesn't help fill the hole, which I think is missing things that you really want to do on your turn, but are also good with Final Task and Army of the Apocalypse. Yeah. Oh, well, that's great to hear. It's always nice to hear that people appreciate my analysis. It's one of my favorite things, really. I could talk for a long time about the smallest nuances. But I think that's what really makes things interesting is when you have a card. I mean, every person that I've seen play Force Mage Apprentice, the first time that they play with it, they always just slam it down and then use it to deal 2 damage to the opponent, maybe 4 damage to the opponent, every single time they draw it. And then at some point, usually when they play against someone who does this, they realize that the power of Force Mage Apprentice isn't the fact that it deals a bunch of damage to your opponent sometimes. It's that it removes something, like a Guilt Demon. You get rid of it, but also now it'll start dealing damage to the opponent. So it's a threat attached to a piece of small removal. And it only has 1 health, so it dies to a Puff of Wind. But if you get to remove something the turn you play it, then it's not even that bad. I mean, even if they play a Plague, for example, which is you'll take a damage and they'll draw 2 cards, then your 0-cost card was basically just something like a Fireball, where you're still killing their thing. Undo feature. It's currently being worked on, but basically, what it'll do is instead of like right there when I passed, I just played the Xanos and I revealed 3. Or I guess that's not a perfect example. Let's say that I basically the way the undo feature is going to work is if you haven't gained any information, then you can just I'm not sure if it'll be keybound or if it'll be a button, but it'll just take you back a step, and you can continue to do that as much as you want. And then once you do something that gets information like passing to your opponent, or you play like a Thought Plucker or a Temporal Shift, and they make a decision, then all of the moves will be submitted to the opponent, and they'll see you just do all the steps that led up to the current thing. So maybe I play this Rift Summoner, reveal 2, I think the way it'll work is you play this Rift Summoner, reveal 2, alright, I'm going to break my demon to make 2 demons. Oh, actually, I don't want to do that. So I undo, and the Rift Summoner goes back into my hand, and then I decide to play Xanos instead, revealing these 3. And then I pass. And now my opponent, what they'll see is I play the Xanos, reveal 3, and then get my 3 zombies. But this way, it's much more forgiving to players that make mistakes that you really wouldn't want to make, like lying in wait on an attacking unbanishable champion. And I think it can be very punishing, especially when things happen that you don't realize. So this is actually something that exists in the physical game. You can undo even in tournaments as long as you haven't gained information yet, which means that when opponents either make a decision, or if you see more cards from your deck, if you see basically any hidden information like cards in your deck, cards in their deck, if something happens, it's random. If cards change zones from your discard pile, if they get banished, or your opponent's cards get banished, then those things don't get undone. But pretty much everything else can get undone. Alright, so it looks like Sam is not on, so I'm just going to call it here, and I'll play some of this Army of the Apocalypse deck next time, maybe get some more tuning in and continue and see how well this deck does. Currently we have 1 win. We'll see. If it take that long, the arena might end before I get a good amount of wins in, but who knows. I think this deck's quite good. So that'll be it for the stream, and I'll be back on Monday. Have a good Easter weekend, everyone. Yeah, well, I mean, it's actually not too bad because the cancel feature already exists. So basically the items the actions end up going into a queue anyway. Alright, or a stack. Anyway, they're almost the same thing. Alright, good night.